Well, this turned out to be my second trip in 12 months to Stuart, Florida, to fish with Night Heron Light Tackle Charters and Capt Buddy Kirkhart. And selfishly for me, it was a necessity because I knew he and his dad had been working on this personal best speckled trout of mine, and I was excited to pick it up. And I'm like, hey, if we're gonna drive to Stuart, Florida, by God, we're gonna fish. Well, here we are back again.
Yep.
1 year later, my redemption trip. Now I came here for some selfish reasons, for a big trout that you promised me, but it's not the trout the audience thinks.
Right.
It's a fiberglass trout.
That's right, that's right.
But all that being said, we're here, we're gonna fish. We've got the typical Buddy Kirkhart crappy weather going on.
Yeah.
Rain everywhere, clouds, wind.
You know, it does seem to follow me around sometimes.
It does. You're like my schlep rock guide. Every time I've got to positively go fishing in crap weather, you're the guy that gets the call. So,
I'm honored.
So, I'm assuming the environment is still stressed out from the dumping of Okeechobee, and this water is tough because I just talked to Rufus a little while ago, and he said, man, there's no grass,
Which is true.
Which is true, and it's sad. So what do you do when there's no grass?
So it's structure, structure, structure. Dock lines, seawalls. That's what we're gonna grind.
We're gonna grind.
We're gonna grind. Maybe a little oyster in there too.
Yeah, well, rocks, oyster, wood. Sounds like we're gonna lose a lot of our tackle.
That is unfortunately part of the game. Yep.
Okay. Well, because you forewarned me, I brought some bigger sticks.
Excellent.
So I guess the pattern is there's no pattern.
There's no pattern.
There's no pattern. There's
no
plan.
Go find them.
We're just gonna go fishing.
Yeah.
I like these kind of days because then I'm not stuck with one bait in the show. I can do whatever I want.
Well, and that is a beautiful thing because sometimes the variety of baits that we're throwing, you know, where if they won't hit this hard bait, maybe something a little bit more subtle, maybe a little finesse style. We might even, you know, I've rigged weedless.
Or top water.
Top water.
Yeah, sometimes you go the other way.
Yeah, so.
Well, let's get after it.
All right.
It looks like the tide is moving pretty good now.
Yep, we got a good incoming at the moment.
It's about to rain on us, so
yeah.
Let's at least run away from the rain.
All right.
This is an area that I'm familiar with. I had been coming over here to Martin County to fish for years. Rufus Wakeman at River Palm Cottages has always put me up so that we can do the Riders Association. We come over here for some of the Hells Bay guide stuff. And it's been one of those fisheries that's just a joy for me to come over here and fish because the snook are so prolific here. And in the day, so were the speckled trout. But as time has gone on and we've been inundated with a lot of environmental pressures from South Florida with the dumping of fresh water, it has really changed this fishery. So now the fish are still here. They're just structure oriented. So now we're fishing docks. We're fishing laid down trees. We're fishing older oyster beds that may not be alive. Most of them may be dead, but the rock and substrate is still there. We're fishing seawalls. So we're spending more time almost bass fishing rather than traditional pole to flat style fishing. Nice. There you go.
Little guy.
Hang in there.
With dock fishing, number one, you know, it's really important to throw the right bait. You have to be able to present it back to those fish. The beauty is that there's certain baits that you can skip all the way back in there. You can really get that fish's attention and, you know, get where he's living. Yeah, good deal. It's not a bad little icebreaker.
Not a bad icebreaker at all.
Yeah. Let's see. Come here, bud. Yeah. He got it.
He got it. He wanted it.
Yeah, he really did.
He wanted it.
Little guy, but we're on the board.
But we're on the board, and that's what's important. An opportunity came up during a practice round in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I just happened to notice these red moss balls in the water from the polling platform. And I look over and I see one that's got a big black shape in it. Almost looks like a giant stick, like a log, like a snook. I make a cast over to this thing and I slide it up to its head. It rolls off the moss, eats the bait, and takes off with this jig. I fight it, and when it gets to where the light's just right, where I can see what it is, I realize it looks like a 3-foot trout, and I am super excited, but also frightened to death. No net. I didn't even have leader on this. I was fishing a medium heavy action rod, which gives me no stretch. I'm thinking for sure I will lose this fish.
CA.
Dude, this is my favorite place in the world next to Hells Bay Boat Works. It really is.
I appreciate that.
I mean, there's not a place I'd rather visit in the state of Florida than this place. New Wave Taxidermy is, and I'm jacked right now because today's the day to pick up the monster trout.
Your best.
It's not too often you get to come to a place like this and have you and your dad work on your personal best.
Yeah.
That's the exciting part. You know, you walk in here and you see it pays homage to every fish that exists.
We literally have a little bit of everything, don't we?
We do. Good Lord.
There's your fish.
That's it? Oh man, better than I remember. This looks more real than the actual fish.
Oh, thank you.
It looks better than the actual fish. It is amazing. It's always a piece of, it's a piece of art when you do it. It really is. I think when I see mounts by some of my friends that they're so excited to get one, they don't want to wait long enough to get it done the right way, and they buy something and then they see a mount like this at my house and they're like, wow. I was like, it's a piece of art. I mean, he signs it.
That's right.
He literally signs it.
That's right.
So it's like you're having the equivalent of Guy Harvey do something.
Very flattering.
Truly.
So unbelievable piece of work. Just to let you know, hell did not freeze over, I promise you. There's a trolling motor on the front of my boat. That's right, because when you come here to fish, you're fishing strong current in the river, and you're having to fish deeper water. Many times we were fishing docks that had 6 and 8 feet of water, and it was just going to be difficult, especially in the wind, to be able to accomplish that on a push pole. I had a cool little quick release device put on my boat when we built it this year called the Power Pucks. And that allows me to have a trolling motor on the bow with no tether cord to plug into the bulkhead. No more corrosion issues, nothing. We got to use a trolling motor problem-free the whole day. And it really did make this trip, because I feel if Buddy and I weren't bolt casting and making tons of casts pouring into every one of these docks and along these seawalls, I don't think we would have had the success with just one angler. Right there.
There you go.
That one's acting like a snook, dude.
It's a better fish, isn't it?
A little better. Don't have this one on the wampum stick, have this one on the Mirrodine rod. Whew. That is a you're playing a game there. Look how black he is.
He's super dark.
He's a river snook.
Yeah. That's probably the fish that top.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, what they'll do is they'll sit on the wall.
What's the attraction to a corrugated wall?
So the corrugated walls, in my opinion, are some of the best ones. Because what happens is the snooks sit outside the wall.
Right.
Somewhere between here and here.
There, okay.
Right? And what happens is as this tide comes through, it's pushing some mullet and stuff down the wall.
And they're going in and out of those little
Right.
grooves.
Well, the beauty is the snooks sit on the outside, and as the mullet come through, the snook will then pin them against those corrugations, and the mullet get back in there, they get their nose into that, and they can't get out.
Yeah, they're done.
And all the snook has to do is,
Yeah, there's no running down the wall because the wall's not flat.
it's not straight,
Yeah.
they can't get away.
Well, the conditions are par for Flats Class TV in 2021. They suck. Wind from every direction because there was a front coming through. Rain 2 times during the day, not just once. It couldn't be happy with one front line coming through. No, we get one front line coming through, then we get the fish and we're like, oh, it's over. Take all the rain gear off. And then the second front line comes through. And yet, we were persistent enough to wear it out and make it happen. There he is.
Jackie?
Snook.
No, it's a snook.
Snook.
Nice.
And he hammered it too. I got him on my wampin stick.
Nice.
Wampin stick, they can't go anywhere. This is my dock rod. Ah. It's kind of fun to catch them. I don't care what size they are. He was hungry because he got a mouthful. I put a bigger bait on, and I often put a bigger bait on just so that skipping is easier. Skipping needs to be easy. So that larger flat-sided bait is a lot easier to skip on my rod. Off he goes. Always an amazing adventure when you go fishing with Capt Buddy Kirkhart there in Stuart, Florida. But this time, it was a real adventure. We had to throw the kitchen sink. I mean, everything from a 3-inch paddle tail to a full-size she-dog to catch fish. And when you're challenged like that, there is no real pattern. There was no pattern in this at all. But I do want to share with you some of the tackle that I like to dock fish with. This is stuff that I rely on and I know will have the pulling power, yet still afford me the accuracy to fish those docks. So this is what I'm gonna show you. This is a Shimano Zodius. This is the 6'10" medium heavy action rod. I've got a Corrado 200 HG on here. I love the wider spool where I can put heavier braid on. I typically use 40-pound, sometimes even 50-pound braid to work these docks. I also like to use a lot heavier leader. So you'll see me use 2 and 3 feet of 40-pound minimum leader. We're expecting to catch snook. We're expecting fish to run us around trash down there, barnacled pieces of post, all kinds of trash that's along the bottom. So everything has to be XD heavy. The rod itself, this 6'10" medium heavy action rod, has an extra fast tip. You need that hard tip. And the reason why is I'm driving casts at a real low angle and lifting the tip up so that I can skip them back into the dock, as deep in there as I can get them. It also allows me, once hooked up, to be able to pull those fish out with a lot of power with the drag almost locked down, usually about 50% of whatever the line strength is. Now, I can't really do that with the tackle that I'm using, but I've got literally 10 pounds of drag, striking drag set on these reels so that when they hit it, they can't run me under the dock. I can start pulling and cranking immediately. Now, the other key component is the bait itself. What I like to do is use jigs. The smaller the bait, like if I'm using something like a 4-inch, I'll use a 1/4 ounce head. But if I'm using these 5-inch baits, like the big diesels, I'll put 3/8 and 1/2 ounce on these because you need that weight forward, heavy feel to it to drive this plastic across the surface. And at a real low cast, it's pretty easy. You'll notice how flat the sides are on this bait. It's almost like skipping a stone underneath the dock. Another great bait that works actually is the 5-inch jerk shad. Again, flat sides. When you have those flat sides, it allows you to skip, skip, skip. You don't want 2 skips. You want like 10 skips back there. Get all the way back. So by choosing baits that relate to making the skip that much easier, it's way better. And like I said, the heavier jig heads, we're fishing current, we're fishing a little bit deeper, but even when I'm fishing shallower docks, I almost always start with 3/8 jig heads. If the bait's smaller, like a smaller 4-inch or sometimes even 3-inch bait, I'll go to a 1/4 ounce. If the bait's 5 inches or 6 inches, then I'll go to a 1/2 ounce. The bulkier the bait, the bigger the weight. That's it. That's your dock fishing tip from Flats Class on this week's episode with Capt Buddy Kirkhart. When you're trying to fish multiple or a variety of zones like Buddy and I did during this shoot, you know, you're at docks, you're at oyster bars, you're at seawalls, and the depths are changing constantly. And you're trying to find out, what is the silver bullet? What is the bait that's going to turn these fish on and you're going to be able to catch them consistently and pattern them on one bait? Could not find that silver bullet at all. It didn't exist. In the corner of the cockpit of the Marquesa, we had a pile. It looked like a rat's nest, if you will. We threw jerk shads, we threw paddle tails, we threw suspending twitch baits, we threw sinking twitch baits, we threw topwater. We just kept pulling stuff out and trying it, trying to see how we were gonna do it. And each scenario required us to make a change.
Can you snag a mullet?
No, this is a monster trout. It's off.
I think you snagged a mullet.
No, he's on again.
It's banging.
Not pulling like I think it. You know, it's got that feel like it could be a turtle. No, it's a big trout, dude. Look at that plug. It was barely in him.
Did you see him almost get out of the net?
Unbelievable.
You came to Stewart.
To pick up a trout that is bigger than that, but still, that's pretty representative of what's
That's a
here.
great trout.
That's a great trout.
That is what we came in here for.
Yeah, redemption.
Pretty awesome.
All right, let's see how big he is real quick. We can almost do it through the net. Squeeze tail down. Yeah, he's gonna be right at 22 inches. It's a nice trout though. That is a nice trout. Really nice trout. This is a great way to end a day of fishing. Big speckled trout release. My favorite fish to catch.
Mine too.
That's awesome.
You know,
That was an awesome day of fishing. I know that we didn't have a lot of giant fishing today, but that is the way to end the day.
Absolutely.
You know, that is the way, I mean, with the rain and the wind and it's just been a battle all day long. I'm beating on these docks and seawalls and a couple of the rock bars around here and still grind out a great day of fishing,
well,
action-wise.
And that right there is a perfect capper for any day for trout freaks like us.
That's right, that's right. It's definitely a trout freak spot for sure. I love it, especially on top water. Doesn't get any better than catching them on the she-dog.
Absolutely.
All right, head back to the marina. I'd be remiss if I didn't think of all the people that made this happen. Rufus Wakeman over at River Palm Cottages, thank you very much for having us as your guests over there. That is the place to stay at when you come over here to Stuart, Florida. Guy's amazing. It's got a great homemade feel to that place. Love it there. Naturally, I gotta thank Captain Buddy. He literally worked for us dawn to dusk to make this happen and got it done in trying conditions. Our cameraman Jim was amazing, and I've got to thank the guy that makes this artwork in this building possible, and that is Mike Kirkhart. This guy is the Heisman Trophy winner in taxidermy. If you have not seen the work that he puts out of this shop, you don't get another fish mount. You only get fish mounts here, period, because these fish mounts, they come to life. And Mike is the heartbeat. There's only two places I get excited about going when we're doing something, and that's Hell's Bay Boat Works, and that's right here at New Wave Taxidermy. It really is.